Anthony, 4x4 Diesel. This is just going to be a little bit of quick information just to give you an idea and help you your education. Now, recently I did a diagnostic video that hopefully comes out before this, but you need to put two and two together. If I remember, this has done about 180 something thousand K. So if I did a diagnostic video, I think it went for about 15 minutes. It was quite detailed towards the end, but I could be wrong because that was yesterday, and how I meant to remember what I did yesterday. Can't even remember what I did this morning. Anyway, we're getting the injectors out of this engine. What I noticed when I started up for the diagnostic, I noticed that you'll hear me say in the video, a little bit rough idle. Okay, so when you've got a rough idle, it can be a lack of compression, and this number one injector is a little bit stuck. So lack of compression, probably I'm sort of thinking 180K, 14 years old, whatever it is, or 13, 14 years old. It's probably about the time that the seats are going to leak. They've probably never been out. Usual stuff. Seats are about to start leaking. Bit of a loss on compression sort of thing at idle, which, you know, that'll clear up as it warms up. And this one, it's a little bit stuck. Now, we're not sure how bad yet, but he's going to get in here and it's going to gently try and loosen it up with a small pry bar and get the shifter and give it a bit of a twist. And this one, I believe, careful of those camshaft lobes like always, I reckon this one's going to free up pretty quickly. If it doesn't, then we're going to turn the engine over and get, there it is, so it's moving a bit already. So it's pressure down with a pry bar on the left side and it's twisting back and forth. So that's definitely got blow by. That would be the compression leak. That's why I noticed the rough idle. So if you start up your vehicle cold and you feel a rough idle, you've probably got a problem with an injector or the seats underneath the bottom of them starting to leak. So let's get this one out. We'll get on the bench and we'll show you what it looks like. Here it is on the bench. You can see the oil's run down just as we pulled it out, right? But immediately before that, it was hard. It was just dry and see, so he's got it just in time. So it's better that this hadn't happened. So it's better to do it as prevention. But this is better than the next step. And the next step, look at this one. Something's been going on there as well, right? So possibly that one started leaking. Oh no, what's happened there is installation from factory. They didn't get it right with the O-ring. We don't know if it's factory. I'm just saying I think so. They look like very old injectors. There's the stamp on them. See the original stamp number 24. So I haven't checked them yet, but they're probably original. I'm very confident they are. They look like Thailand manufacture injectors also, I believe. But anyway, that's why there's oil down there, so don't worry about that. But this one, like I said, better if you catch it before this, but this is better than the next step, and that's where all this compression takes out the O-ring, the oil comes down, and that's what's been happening. The oil has come down because you can see it's just the beginning of it all carbonizing up. This is the injector seats leaking, or slang word we use, blow by, because compression blowing by the injector seat. And that's what's causing this problem. You can see all that mess and grit there, right? You can see it didn't need to actually wait to take out the O-ring, because like this one, the factory installation, they stuffed up, right? You can see the O-ring there, it's a little bit pinched. So we've got at least two O-rings pinched. That one looks all right. That one looks all right too, I think. So just goes, we do see that every now and then. It is rare, but for one vehicle to have two, perhaps they've been out before. I want to give you a bit of a told you so moment. This is a I told you so moment. So on one of the recent vehicles where we changed the injectors at about 160,000 kilometers, and some people in the comments said, oh no, you should have just left it, and you know, I would have sold it, and whatever. Look, you know, if you left it, this is what you're faced with shortly afterwards, okay? And it can happen earlier than this, and it can happen worse than this. So that's why you don't just leave it, you do the recommended maintenance. Anyway, just in case anyone missed it, we are fully booked, and between our bookings and our break, we're taking a rest break. We'll call it, you know, we're just fully booked, and we are not in a position to take any more inquiries for bookings. So I'll put this video out soon. So this will be a fresh one, maybe tonight. And so this is what we're doing today. If this video comes out tonight, if it comes out another time, it was what we're doing another day. Anyway, we're just going to do a bit of inspection. So we're going to be fully back on deck by the 26th of April. So no communications, no phone calls, no texts. The phone doesn't ring anyway. Don't worry about the text messages. You can use all our Facebook groups and pages. You can look at our YouTube channels as a resource for the information you need. You can ask on our Facebook groups. Plenty of people there know all the answers to the questions. They've been there, done that, similar to you. Yeah, so no phone calls, no texts, no letters, no emails, no anything, unless you are completely desperate and you've tried all the other, because of course we want to help where we can, but I hope you understand we need to take a break. So between the work we've got booked, which is plenty of that to get finished off still, we're happy it's happening right now, and our break, we're taking a break. We'll be back on deck straight after Anzac Day on Tuesday the 26th of April, probably getting smashed again, as I've said. So please be patient, and if you don't get a response, please remind me later in the day or the next day or whatever the case may be. You're not bothering me, you're reminding me. Now, let's just have a quick look up here, right? Fuel hose, this fuel hose, let's just have a feel of it, because we know it's very hard. It's not absolutely rock hard like some of them. It's quite clean. It looks like the owner, he does a lot of it. It's 180k this one, remember, if you remember from earlier in the video, and if in case I didn't mention it. Outback travel, that's why there's dirt and dust and whatever. We're changing the exhaust gasket. That's why you can see the exhaust moving around, and we're doing an auto flush, and we're doing a whole heap of things on this vehicle. But the fuel hose we won't be able to replace simply because the tanks are quite full. And this is why I'm adding this in the video. It's all really important information. That's why you hang around, even if it starts off talking about injectors and you go, oh, another one of these. You could, which you just completely swing in another direction later in the video. See, if the tanks are full, then basically, it all depends how full it is, but we don't know until we remove that hose. And you can see that the hose where it goes into the back of the tank, the lower side of it, is you know, it's not halfway down the tank, it's not at the top, but it's at a risk of we remove that and fuel's going to start pouring out everywhere. So we don't want to replace the hose while we've got what we believe to be quite a full tank. The best way to do it, now obviously even if it's half full, this tank will be half full, the back tank will be out. You just don't know exactly where your tanks are going to be at. This front tank can have most of the fuel in it as well. So it's, in my opinion, best to replace this fuel hose to be sure when you've got quarter of a tank left or something like that, a quarter, 3/4 of, you know, at least your 90 litre lights on, you know, you're down to half, there's a good chance that you'll be okay. I can't tell you exactly what's okay, because the times that I've done it, there's been a low amount of fuel in the tanks and that sort of thing. Mate, you're noisy over there, mate. I'm trying to talk to these people. Anyway, we've got to get work done. But so basically the fullest we've changed one of these is when it's on 3/4 and there was a little bit of fuel maybe trying to start leaking out. And this vehicle, this fuel tank's full, so we can't do it. I'm confident that it's going to leak fuel out everywhere. It's a waste of fuel. It's a big mess. You don't need oil, fuel mess going everywhere. So it's just going to have to be done at some later stage. Now, it's a pretty straightforward thing that even the owner could take care of. You can see one clamp there, another one on the back of the fuel tank there. One of them comes with a hose, which he has already been supplied, because I think he was going to do it himself, but just trying to help people understand something to think about. How full is your tank before you go to change this hose? Hey, what are you doing over here making noise while I'm trying to talk to people? Unbelievable. Yeah, here it is. So 2 bolts, there you go, they've been removed. Right, 1, 2, and that gasket in the middle there, that's all worn away from 14 years of, you know, if I had a spare hand, here we go. Sort of, you know, a bit of wobbling around. There's springs there, so it's not a super tight fit. It's a sort of flexible joint, and the gasket just wears away and it gets all buffed up, so it's nice and glazed. And the way you diagnose that, you just put your foot on the exhaust. When you're at idle and you hear that annoying squeak, you just come and put your foot on the side of the exhaust here, just there, and it'll go away. And you know, you probably already know that's what it is, but that'll confirm. Then you just change that gasket. You can get them at your local Toyota dealer. Once again, if all we were worried about was selling parts, then we would have a website and be selling heaps of parts, but we don't want to do that. We're not that greedy. We're just helping out where we can, and we've got some of these in stock, but not a lot, and we use them in the workshop, of course, and in the workshops, and every now and then someone gets one, because if we happen to have one and it's in stock and somebody asks for one and they're buying, you know, and whatever other sort of parts kit or getting other work done with us, then we can supply it. But you know, you can buy these from wherever you like, including your local Toyota dealer. They were about 30 bucks, but I think they've gone up. People are talking about $40. It's an expensive little gasket, really. It's a bit of a rip-off. So if you can find somewhere cheaper, have a Google around, go for it. And this is for the 120 Prado. I believe that it's probably the same on the 150, even though the part number may be different, but I could be wrong. These are one of those things where, you know, I could be wrong, but I'm not really sure. And it doesn't really matter if I'm wrong because I've told you I could be wrong. So check it yourself if you want to put them up against each other and compare. We might do that as well, and I'll let you know in another video. So if you haven't already, subscribe, turn the bell on, and let's complete this inspection under the vehicle. Another important part of an aspect when it comes to brakes. Now, whenever we talk about brakes, I always say, you know, it's one of the safety things. It's a matter of life and death if your vehicle doesn't stop. And I'm always going to say, take it to a professional. But I'll also add to that, you know, I'm trying to help you guys because there's not enough professionals that can get it right. But look, brakes are pretty straightforward. But if you've got no idea, then it can be quite dangerous, right? So, you know, when it comes to professionals, there's not many, but brakes for them is pretty easy to take care of. Now, I'm going to get in here and show you, spend a bit of time. We showed another one on another video that may or may not be out yet. I don't know, there's that many videos and there's going to be more. And sometimes we recap some subjects just to make sure if we've, you know, sort of given some information and it's not, you know, 100% or there's one little bit that's wrong. Sometimes we'll correct it. It might be you need a 17mm socket for that. Look, you know, it doesn't matter. It might have been a 19 or a 17 or a 15. You know, I say the wrong words and sometimes I say, you know, we've got a whatever. Anyway, let's stop wasting time. Rear pads on this one. This is another one that the pads are very low. It's pretty straightforward to see. We're going to get in there now. This is the typical angle that I would probably be looking at them from and what I can see. And from that, see the middle of it, you can see the disc rotor, right? That's the part that's moving with the wheel, see? And you can see the pads each side of it. Now, there's a backing plate, right? Which is that little part that's clipped over. If you don't know what you need to see a set of brake pads. If you don't know what I mean, this is what I mean. You just need to go to a professional. But I can quite clearly see, even in that camera, I kind of want to get another hand. Hang on a sec. Let's just zoom in there a little bit. Let's put that light down. Let's zoom in a little bit. Right. Now you can see the rusty rotor in the middle. That's what's moving. Right. On the right hand side of that, you've got a thin amount, probably about 2mm I'd estimate. I'm just looking at the camera view now, and I'm a little bit zoomed in. The backing plate's probably about 6 or 7mm thick at an estimate, okay? Right, 6 or 7mm thick, and there's a small amount of meat left. So that's quite low. And on the pad at the other side, let's try and get it to focus over there if that works. Right, you can see there's only, again, a millimetre or two, and these quite often do wear unevenly, okay? And if they're worn unevenly and you see them that low, they are really low. Now, disc rotors, they rust and whatever, so that's a normal view, right? Normal view there for a disc rotor. Let's get the camera right in there now. I can't see what I'm looking at now, but hopefully you can, right? Right, see the pads, you can see the meat, how much meat's left. Look, the old rule, which I don't agree with, is what they told us, you know, in dealerships they said, when the lining is less than what the backing plate is, it's time to replace them. The problem I got with that is, if the backing plate was 6mm thick, and I haven't taken a measurement now, I'm just doing estimates, and some pads have only got about 8 or 9mm thick, that means once your pads are 1/3 worn, and there's 66% left still, they want to replace them. Now that's a bit overzealous, wouldn't you agree? So you know I'm here for value for money and give you the honest truth about everything, and I hope the automotive industry can do the same. We need to look after everybody. We need to get everybody on board together and make sure all the service departments are working as a team to make sure they deliver awesome customer service and repairs. And that will be achieved by getting the correct staff, and the way you keep the correct staff, quality staff, is by paying them the right money, okay? That's the only way it's going to happen. So the hourly rate was going to need to go up. Now, I bet you all the viewers that are still watching would be much happier to pay an hourly rate, considering you only take your vehicle in twice a year, and it only probably needs a couple hours. Wouldn't you rather pay, you know, the right rate for the small amount of hours that your vehicle's got to be in the workshop per year to make sure the job's done right, than a cheaper price and pay peanuts and you got monkeys working on the car? Yeah, that's right. It's a no-brainer. So let's work towards that. Let's get all the service managers having a think about that. These brake pads, definitely due for replacement. If you're not sure, the only way to tell to get in there and have a better view is, of course, to remove the wheel. So we've got the wheel on. We're experienced. We can do this by looking in there with a torch and know what's going on. We can also take other angles, like down underneath, in behind there. We can have a look right at the gap there. We can have a look on the outside of the wheel and have a look at all the different aspects to know if we're happy. Now, if we're happy, we're happy. If we're not sure when we take the wheel off, that's up to us. Once the wheel's off, if we're that unsure, if the wheel's coming off, the pads are getting replaced. Right, so I hope that helps with your understanding of brake pads, particularly rear brake pads. Added into another video to make it a long one. We're just continuing this inspection, and mate, he's up here, he's making double the noise now. What are you doing, mate? Two at once? Oh my God, what are you doing? Oh mate, what's going on with the double speed? What's this, trying to get things done a little bit quicker? You are out of control, mate. Now, I just want to point out, once he gets around here, keep going. This is important, you know, fitting the gasket video, all included, all in one. How's this, an all-in-one video? Right, this doesn't need to be super tight. See, when that flat section there seats up, that's it. The spring is what holds, that's it. You want to make it tighter, stretch the spring a little bit. You want to make it looser, squash the spring a little bit. See both sides. You can see that flat section in the middle there. Once it gets there, that's it. You know, as long as it doesn't need to be stupidly tight. It's not going to come undone, right? Just tight enough so it doesn't come undone. That's it. It's not going to, nothing's going to make it hold any tighter. Now, if you're on a budget and you want to stop that squeak, you can take these bolts out. You can take the gasket out, and you could probably rough it up with a bit of rough emery paper on that smooth, slick side. Let's have a look at the old one. All right. There it is. You can see it's all worn slick. See the outer edge that doesn't make contact? You could just possibly rough that up with some emery. You know, that's not what I'm going to try and do, although maybe we will. Maybe we will do that on one just to see. So I might keep that, a bit of R&D. I'll tell you what we might do. We might rough this one up, and I might install it on our 120 Prado just to see what happens. You know, you can compare to a new one. So a new one, old one. Anyway, let's finish this inspection in case there's anything exciting to see. Look at that. Oh, what's that? Oh, bloody transmission flush. Okay, of course, a transmission flush. Now, just going to have a quick look around. Usual stuff. That slip joint looks, we've lubed it, but it looks a bit dry. There's not a lot of excess grease out there. It looks a little bit dry. It's had grease before, so that's all right. It's not too bad. But just make sure regular greasing. You don't need to overdo it. You can see this is Outback traveling vehicle. Right, I'm just going to have a quick look around. Like I've got a minute or two left. Wires, of course, we don't like too many wires hanging down, and just make sure, it depends if you're full driving or touring or whatever, but you know, always wires. Wires are always the problem. All the aftermarket stuff hanging around everywhere is the sort of thing we want to look at. Okay, what do we got? Just having a look around, 180k. Oh, so we've got some airbag spaces in there as well. Look at that, huh? Right, pretty cool. Okay, because obviously he had the airbags, and then he's put the little bit higher springs in, and then the airbags were no longer suitable, so he put the little spaces in, so that's an option. Just looking at those pads, the outer pad seems to be more worn. It's not uncommon that the pads wear at different rate, you know what I mean? Like, we put a new fuel filter up there. The ones we use, we reuse the bracket. We just use the Ryco one up there still, but not promoting Ryco. You can use whatever brand you like. It's just what we use. We think the genuine ones are well overpriced at about $100, you know, double the price, and it's just wasteful putting a new bracket on there. Just having a quick look around, nothing. It's a bit wet because we've just given it a wash down recently after some under bonnet works, but I think there's nothing to see here. It's mainly concentrate on what you've seen in all our other videos, the usual sort of stuff that we've talked about. I don't want to bore you with it again. Sort of made this one a little bit different. I hope you liked it. Smash that like button, subscribe, turn the bell on. Catch you on the next one, guys. See ya.